we're ready here. I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, September 6th, 2023 to order. Clerk, can we?
9 present, 3 absent.
9 present, 3 absent. Please note that Commissioner Mankins, Commissioner Fortune, and Commissioner Anderson all are absent from tonight's meeting. Commissioner Sorge, could you lead us in the prayer and the pledge?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, fellow commissioners. Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which so greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen. Allegiance to the flag.
Next, we'll move to the approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to approve the minutes from the August 16th, August 22nd, and August 23rd, 2023 regular meetings.
We have a motion and a second approving August 16th, August 22nd, August 23rd meetings. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay. Motion passes. I don't believe we have any items that are not addressed on the agenda tonight, so we'll move on to the Chief Executive's report. I want to invite everybody. Tomorrow we will have the para-tailings waste removal project, so I'd like to invite the commissioners to come down for that. It begins at 5 o'clock, and so that's the completion of the para-tailings project, the cleanup around that, and so that's a great celebration of a great cleanup that is going on down there. And at 4:30 we actually are going to celebrate Jim Lynch and the number of years that he has served on the Civic Center board, and they're going to do that at 4:30. So Jim's been a great public servant for us, serving on that board. So we're going to celebrate him prior to that as well. You know, I know that there's been a lot of talk and emotion around, you know, what's going to happen around BIPSU and what the gray dirt or dirty dirt and all the different things that are going on there. And I know that there's some emotions that go along with that. And sometimes it seems like we're at odds with each other rather than together. But I want to, you know, kind of say that it's important that we work together and we put out a, you know, a positive vibe to at least the people that work in the departments that are there, and sometimes I think that the message is that things aren't being done right, and I want to really kind of just speak to that. I think we want to invite our different departments in here, and I think that I can do a better job working with our departments when we talk about the different issues that are happening within those departments, just to give updates, because I think part of the issue is maybe a little bit of lack of communication of what we can do to come in and give updates on what's happening. I think one of the ones that I see right now, there's a lot of motion around Stodden Park and it getting cleaned up out there, and I know that we've had a lot of public response to that, but we also knew what was going on. They came and they reported to us here. And the reason that those parks are getting cleaned up is they changed the standard. They used to be held to a recreation standard, and now through the RMAP program, they've gone to a residential standard. That's a good thing for our community. That's a good thing for our children. It's a good thing for everybody. And so it does take some sacrifice of seeing some of our parks getting torn up a little bit. They're going to get replaced to as good or better to what they were before, and they're going to be more protective. And so those are good things that are happening in our community. And sometimes the emotion of the community is like, oh God, you didn't get it right the first time. Things do change throughout time, and so the ability to recognize that and move forward are positive things for our community. And so I just kind of want to just remind everybody that we did know this was coming. It was reported, it was in the paper, and those things did happen. And so to try not to feed into the emotion and just have more of the background and the facts that we talk about those things. So again, I'm offering up, any time that any of the commissioners or public want to talk to our different departments, we're willing to do that. I know that I've been talking to our Superfund department that they would love for commissioners and stuff to come in and see the work that goes on a day-to-day basis in the RMAP program. And I know that there's issues around, what we're going to do with transparency and things of that nature. We've been working with EPA, DEQ, NRD, everybody to really open up as much as possible to all of the things that are going on with the things around BIBSU. So I just encourage everybody to continue to communicate together and work together. I think it's important that we show that we're together in making sure that we have the most protective cleanup within our community. So with that, I'm going to close out the Chief Executive's report. I know that there's quite a bit going on tonight's agenda, so I'll close that, and I'll move on to any public comment on any item on the agenda tonight. So if you want to speak on any item on the agenda, you can come forward, state your name, your address, and what you're speaking on. If you're going to be speaking on a public hearing, that time will come for you, so you don't need to do it during this public comment period. Okay? So do we have anyone that would like to speak on anything on the agenda tonight? Mr. Garf.
Thank you, Chief Executive, Commissioners. I'd like to speak on petition 2022-01 to vacate part of Western Avenue at Waukesha. So I'd like to speak in opposition to this vacation, and I have 3 points to make tonight. First of all,
Mr. Garf, that's part of the public hearing.
Oh,
so
it
if
is?
you would like to speak on the public hearing, that would be.
oh, I'm sorry, I would.
Okay.
I'll come back up.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I just learned a lesson.
Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak on any item on the agenda that is not a public hearing? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to section 1, bid openings, public hearings and presentations and or petitions. We have a couple public hearings tonight. So County Attorney Joyce, do we have proof of publication?
Mr. Chief Executive, we do have proof of publication for both petitions and for the Tippett public hearing, and all appear to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce. Next, we'll move on to the first petition, petition number 2022-01. David Gary, Butte-Silver Bowl Land Records Coordinator, has a petition that was filed with the Land Records Office to close and vacate the east half of the platted and undeveloped portion of Western Avenue north of intersection of Western Avenue and Waukesha Street. Refer to the Public Works Committee until the public hearing is scheduled. Mr. Gary, welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Chief Executive, members of the council. For the record, David Gary, Land Records Coordinator for Butte-Silver Bow. And I guess my role tonight is just to kind of go over petition number 2022-01, give you an overview of what you're holding the public hearing on tonight and a quick overview of the process itself. Let me back up there. Petition number 2022-01 is a request to vacate a portion of a public right-of-way, and it's being petitioned by Mr. Ivankovich. So the process to petition to vacate a public right-of-way consists of the applicant submitting an application and the required fee Then the Land Records Office prepares the petition itself, which kind of identifies the different landowners that have to sign off on the petition. We give that back to the petitioner. The petitioner collects the required signatures for the petition to move forward. Once they return that petition to us, we prepare the package to go to the county attorney's office to review the petition and make sure it's meeting state law. Once we hear back from the county's attorney's office, we send out a notice to all the different Butte-Silver departments as well as utility companies to give them a chance to officially object on the record to the petition. One thing to note as far as that goes on this petition is Northwestern Energy did request an easement. So if the petition was granted, they would want the easement to be signed, which was included as a portion of the petition package that you guys have. Once we hear back from those departments, I submit a communication to the council to refer the petition to the Public Works Department, where the Public Works Department reviews it and sets the public hearing. I thought they had a pretty robust discussion in the department. For this one, the main focus was a water line running through half of the right-of-way, as well as a trail that runs up half of the right-of-way to be vacated. Let's see. So we did the public notices for the public hearing. They were published the appropriate amount of times, as Eileen said, and we also put sandwich boards up on the entranceway to this right-of-way. And so now here we are tonight having the public hearing for this, which will eventually come back to this body to make a decision on whether they want to grant the vacation or not. This is kind of an overview of where the area is. Kind of hard to see up there, but the red parcel at the intersection of Waukesha and Western is the portion of the right-of-way that is requesting to be vacated. You can the next slide zooms in a little bit more. You got to understand these GIS maps are not surveys or anything like that, so you can't use them to know exactly where the boundary lines and the shading in the area to be vacated is actually my shaky hand with a mouse filling that in. So, but basically it's the east half of that right-of-way that is shaded in. You can see the trail does go through there. This isn't part of your package, but through discussions with Mr. Ivankovich, he has stated that his intentions are to leave the trail as is until such time as he would start the dirt work to build the house that he would like to build on that lot, as well as the two lots to the east that he owns. And at that time, he would make the trail go up the west half of the right-of-way, which would not be vacated. This is just actually a physical picture standing at that intersection looking north. And you can see that's the head of the trail which would be in the east half of the right-of-way that's being requested to be vacated. And this is just the opposite way looking south. And with that, I would stand for any questions that you might have of me.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Are there any questions of commissioners? Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. On the sign-off process, my question is to you is, did Public Works, the fire department, sign off to this public hearing?
Commissioner Reardon. Mr. Gary.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Reardon, so when we go out and notify the departments, originally this petition contained the entire right-of-way, and it was objected by a department within Public Works. I think it was the water department, because there is a water main running through the west half of that portion, and through working with the petitioner and the departments, that's how it came to be the east half. So with it becoming the east half, Public Works no longer had the issue, and no other departments objected.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Follow-up, Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you. So basically, there is a water line on this piece of property in question, correct?
the west half of the right-of-way, correct?
Right.
Not the east half, which is proposed to be vacated.
Okay, all right. Is there anything in this proposal that basically the maintenance and connections to this water line, are they going to be available to the county, furthering any development?
Commissioner Reardon, Mr. Aguirre.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Reardon, I'm not sure I understood the question, but nothing was discussed regarding future connections or anything like that.
Okay, okay. The reason I'm asking these questions is we've had a few of these before and all that, and even on street closures with your familiarity with the process and things like that, I think that we really have to watch, and I think the Public Works Department is, maybe we can ask Mr. Neary, basically, if he has any concern with this water line being involved in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. Director Neary.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Commissioner Reardon, the water line is on the western half where there will property line where Mr. Ivankovich wants. There's plenty of room for us to work on the water line. I don't know that there'll be any more development to the north of that. The piece that Mr. Ivankovich wants is to the east, but the trail and the water line will be fine.
Thank you, Director Neary.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of commissioners? Seeing none, I'll open up the public hearing. First, I'll call for proponents. First call for proponents. Okay. I think we'll do the verbal ones and then we'll do the ones right into the record. There's a button there there you go. Once it lights up.
Oh, for
There you
God's
go.
sakes. Chief Executive and Council, I'm John Ivankovich. I'm the petitioner's son. And basically what's going to try and end up happening is we're just trying to, make the neighborhood better. It's going to be something that one day hopefully my sister and her husband are going to eventually build there. There's not going to be anything done from a standpoint of selling it or trying to do anything more than just, we have the 2 lots there, and we understand that the trail system is that there's not going to be anything done that's going to affect anything. I think this has been in the works for, I know my father's been trying to look at this for the last couple of years, and just, so I guess if we're going to come up, and I'd just like to say that I am absolutely in favor of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ivankovich. Do we have any more proponents? First call for proponents. Now we can read into the record the proponent letters that you have.
Okay, so this one's from Mike and Sarah Borden. It says, Dear Commissioners, we are writing you today to provide input regarding petition 2022/01, which would sell a parcel of county land to our neighbor on Waukesha Street. This parcel currently provides our neighborhood with public access point to the Big Butte open space. The primary point of our letter is to voice support for vacating a portion of the parcel to allow construction of a house, while also retaining a smaller portion of the parcel as public property to guarantee the continued public access to the Big Butte open space for our neighborhood. We live 2 doors east at 1127 Waukesha Street. My wife Sarah and I have owned this house for 18 years and have raised 3 children here. We are avid users of Big Butte open space and use it at least twice a day for walks and a few days per week for biking. We recognize the housing shortage in Butte, and we in no way want to obstruct the construction of new housing on our established lots within the Butte-Silver County, including at this location. We also wish to support the idea of public property access point to the Big Butte open space to be retained, and that these 2 objectives can exist together. This access point to the M Hill Park is unique to the part of the Upper East Side because it is notably more gradual than the other access points. Why is this important? Most notably for safety. This includes the safety of the people in our neighborhood with decreased mobility and the people walking on snow and ice during the wintertime. The other access locations in the neighborhood can be too steep and icy to use during the freeze/thaw intervals. To illustrate this point, the access in question has a slope of about 12%. We measured 13 feet of the climb over 111 feet horizontal, which is adjacent access located in the alley to the south of the Kennedy Elementary. Average slope of about 17%, 36 feet to climb over 214 feet horizontal. Another key feature of this access point is that it is oriented due south, allowing the sun to melt the snow and ice more rapidly than the nearby access located in the alley south of Kennedy Elementary. Both my wife and Sarah and I support vacating most of the lot in question and retaining a suitable width of the lower graduated parcel as part of public property and to ensure continued public access at this location for generations to come. We believe that this would be a win-win solution as it would allow for construction of the new house while also preserving important public access in the Big Butte open space. Thank you for your time and consideration. Mike and Sarah Bourdain, 1127 Waukesha Street in Butte.
Thank you. Is that
And-
the only letter we have? Okay.
This letter is inform you that we are okay with Dave Vankovich buying the small part of Western Street next to his land so that he can close it off. It should be closed to keep the motorbikes off of Big Butte. Thank you. Looks like James V. Rosa and Catherine Rosa, 1137 Waukesha Street.
Thank you.
And this one says Zachariah Valazulia. I am the owner of the connecting lots on Western Avenue. I am not opposed to Dave Ivankovich's proposal. He has assured me that the trails, Big Butte, will not be impeded by any structures. If there be any concerns or questions on my end, they can be forwarded to my provided email. Thank you, Zachariah. This is Lenora Dombro. To Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners, or whom it may concern. I am writing you in regard to petition 2022/01 to vacate the lot of Western Avenue. I reside at a nearby home and ask that Butte-Silver retain ownership of this lot, as it serves as access to the Big Butte open space, that is frequently utilized by surrounding neighbors. I am a resident on the neighborhood residing on Lewison Street, just over a block away from the lot in question. My husband and I recently purchased the property earlier this year due to, in no small part, access to the Big Butte open space. Since we have moved here, we use a lot of access to Western Avenue. Almost daily, we hike, run, walk, bike, cross-country, ski. When we have guests and visitors, a hike to the M is one of the first stops in the tour of the community. It's a wonderful place to admire the city, surrounding area, look at wildflowers, birds, and recreate. It's a rare trip to Big Butte that I don't encounter a neighbor, a visitor using access. The accessibility to Big Butte is important to the neighborhood. And like my husband and I, serves as a means to encourage others to buy adjoining houses and remain in the neighborhood. I ask if the lot must be vacated, that enough land be retained to guarantee access to the Big Butte at the location and that the trail is relocated adjacent to the lot. My concern is that while granting ownership to one party, access will be forever lost, and that would negatively affect many people in the neighborhood. Thank you for your time, and I regret that I could not attend the public meeting.
I believe that probably was an opponent
Yeah.
so we'll make sure that that's put into the record as an opponent.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other proponents? Okay. So I'll do second call for proponents. third and final call for proponents. Next, I'll move to opponents. First call for opponents. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to come forward, state your name, your address, and what you'll be speaking or on in the issue today?
Thank you, Chief Executive, Commissioners. I'm sorry I spoke out of turn before. My name is Mark Garf. I live at 1149 Antimony Street, and I'm speaking in opposition to the vacation of this parcel at Western Avenue. I worked on the Butte Parks Master Plan, and the property in question, it was hard to see on that map, and even though Mr. Neary stated that the vacated portion is not, the trail is to the west of the vacated portion, the property line does go right over the top of it. So the trail would need to move, and there's also a fence there that restricts motorcycles from going up to the Big Butte open space that the Parks Department just built last summer. That would also need to move. So that would be a cost to the county. But as some of the proponents actually mentioned, and one of the opponents, this is a really important trail connection. It's the only one on Western Avenue to get up to the Big Butte open space. It's very well utilized, and I just don't think that we need to mess with it. When we did the Parks Master Plan, we got a lot of feedback. The citizens of Butte love their trail system. They want to see more trails, more trail connections, certainly not less. And since this is the only entrance on Western Avenue, it's just a really important access point. As one of the opponents mentioned, it's a very gentle way up to get to Big Butte. The second point I'd like to make is this is not a hardship. The petition states that by acquiring this section, it will give me the additional space to build a home because my footprint with only 2 lots is too small to meet the maximum coverage requirements. That statement is in fact not true. It's a 5,800 square foot lot. The current lot is buildable. It's a platted lot within the city of Butte, and it's actually generously buildable under the current zoning code. With the setbacks, you could build a home of over 2,000 square feet on one level, and the lot coverage rules in the zoning code would allow you to build a 2-story home plus a basement, and when complete, the home, if you get a good architect, could be 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. That's on the existing lot. That does not include the portion that would be vacated. And then the last point I'd just like to make, bigger picture, as a community, I just don't think we should be giving away our public resources to private interests. And I know we're not giving it away that they pay a small fee, but I believe it's hundreds of dollars. And so if we're going to give away our public lands, we should sell them at market rates. And if we're going to do that, I think it should have a public benefit, not just a single benefit to one private landowner. And I just think this is a reduction in the quality of our public trail system here in Butte. And I think it would set a terrible precedent. So thank you for listening to my concerns today, and I would urge you to vote against this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garf. Are there any more opponents?
I think I learned by now. Sean Peterson, 1200 West Gold Street. I'd like to speak in opposition to this. I really can't say it any better than he did. It's already a buildable lot. It's over the maximum lot size. There's no public benefit to vacating this street to give it to a private entity, and I believe it would be inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents?
Hello, Mr. Chief Executive and Commissioners. Thank you. I'll repeat a lot of what the proponents and opponents said. I'm not necessarily too worried about building a structure there or any of that, but if there's any way we can guarantee the public access and a high quality trail that we have there now, that's what I'm worried about losing. So if there's any way that we can meet everyone's goals, I'm okay with that, but as long as we do not lose that trail access. So thank you.
Could we have your name and address,
I'm
please?
sorry. Bob Bundy, 1140 Lewis Shone Street. So,
Thank you, Mr. Bundy. Are there any other opponents?
Chief Executive and Commissioners, my name is Johanna Lowney, and I'm at 1147 West Woolman Street. And I'd like to speak in opposition of this as a active member of the community that uses the M Trail system almost every day. As Mark pointed out, it is very important access, especially in the winter, and I think once we take that one step forward, there's no going back to actually keeping that parcel as a public land and trail access. So that's why I'm in opposition of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lowney. Is there any other opponents? Second call for opponents. Okay, and now do we have other letters? Okay.
This one's from Margaret Lowney, West Gold Street. To Butte-Silver Commissioners, I recently learned of the petition to vacate the public right-of-way street closure on Western Avenue. This public right-of-way access to many of the trails to the Big M. I encourage the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners to reject the petition and maintain the public right-of-way. The M trails provide an important recreational opportunities, and the Western Avenue right-of-way needs access to many of the trails. Please don't take action that will limit access to valuable recreational opportunities in our community. Sincerely, Margaret Lowney.
Thank you. Do we have any other letters of opposition? No. Seeing none. Third and final call for opponents. We'll close the public hearing. Next, we'll move to petition number 2022-02. David Gary, Butte-Silver Bowl Land Records Coordinator, has a petition that was filed with the Land Records Office to close and vacate the east half of the platted and undeveloped portion of Radium Street, a portion of the adjacent dedicated and undeveloped alley, and a portion of adjacent dedicated alley, the right-of-ways of the adjacent dedicated undeveloped alley. The right-of-ways are located south of Mercury Street and north of Silver Street. Refer to the Public Works Committee until the public hearing is scheduled. Mr. Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, members of the council. Again, for the record, David Gary, Land Records Coordinator, bringing second petition forward for the same reasons as the first. I did try to change the color of the slides to make it more entertaining for you anyways. So this petition would be a petition from Mr. Ed Stack, Stack Stewie Properties, LL. They own properties south of Mercury Street, above and below the portions that they are requesting to vacate, and their idea is to make it clean up legal descriptions, make it one big piece of property, and brighten it up for the neighborhood. I won't bore you with the process again since we just went through this slide. If you have questions, certainly let me know. Northwestern Energy did request an easement for this piece of property, which again has been shared with the applicant. No issues. Today we're at the public hearing to get public input and provide you guys to make educated decisions moving forward. Overview, this is a large portion of a large overview of the area they're requesting to vacate. Again, it's the red portion with the red slashes through it. You can see Mercury Street to the south, or I'm sorry, to the north, and I can zoom in there. So this was a platted, undeveloped area. I got to get with our GIS person because our parcel lines are light yellow there, and that makes it really hard to see. But there's about 3 or 4 parcels to the north of the area requesting to vacate, and 2-3 parcels to the south, which are all owned by the Stacks. A little different one in this one is we would be, if granted, we would request that a survey be required, not only because they were going to do it anyways, but we couldn't write a legal description for the area requesting to be vacated simply because there's a entryway from the school district property to the east to the alley that would remain, and they wanted to make sure and keep an access point there for those cars to get out in the alley should they want to, and we just couldn't write a legal description for that, so a survey would take care of that. With that, this is the area. Oh, I'm sorry, when we're at the Public Works, let me back up a little bit. At Public Works Committee, I think there was another robust discussion that I was impressed with. A lot of it focused on stormwater, where it was generated, how to fix it, or whether that was part of this process. I think the stacks heard that and tried to adopt some of the stuff that was coming through from the big storms that we've had. So you can see the straw there. But this is the area between, looking north towards Silver Street, would be vacated. The driveway to the school district lot would be just to the right, out of your vision there, just to this side of the straw. Next picture, this would be looking east from the other side of the property. Not much to say about that. And with that, I would stand for any questions that you might have for me on this.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Aguirre. Any questions for Mr. Aguirre from commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move on to our public hearing. Call for proponents. First call for proponents. Come on up, Mr. Stack.
Hello, my name is Ed Stack, manager, Stack Studio Properties. Good evening, Mr. Gallagher and commissioners. Looks like I'm the one that ended up inheriting this property and took it on as a personal deal to fix it up. I've done all I can do with the building. Now I'm dedicating 100% of my time to fixing up that land. I think the benefit to the city will be just a nice looking piece of property with trees and grass and pavement. And so we're do it as fast as I can. It took 1.5 years to get to this point. With surveys and engineering, it still will take a little while to do it, but it cannot be done fast enough. I'm not getting any younger, so I promise I'll get it done as fast as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stack. Any other proponents? Welcome, Mr. Stack.
Hello. Mr. Chief Executive, Council Commissioners, Brian Stack, son of Ed Stack, one of the owners of Dewey Properties. Just wanted to state that we all know the situation we went through to this point. We did do everything we said we were going to do and more. The building turned out better than expected. Took a lot of effort from everyone to get to that point, but we made it. So now we want to fix up the land. And this alley behind the piece we're asking to vacate is right behind the building. I was already, parts of it were vacated for the parking lot for Butte High parking lot. So it was vacated years ago for that, for the Butte High parking lot. Then it was vacated, that was on the east side of it. So there's no entrance to it there. And then the southwest side was vacated years ago for the plumbers union, that area, that fence area they have down there. So it's already been vacated to the both ends of it. And then that alley, the person we bought it from, Larry Hoffman, he had it fenced off. And that's where all this stuff was at. It's never been used in all of our lives. It's never been used before. Be honest, we didn't even know it was there. So we are going to fix up the property, level it, pave, grass, trees, sidewalks. So that is the next step to our situation. So I appreciate all your help. I really do. We'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stack. Any other proponents? Second call for proponents. Do we have any letters to be written in? Okay. Third call for proponents. Seeing none, I'll move to opponents. First call for opponents. Second call for opponents. Third and final call for opponents. I'll close the public hearing. Okay. Next, we'll move to communication number 2023-423, Maria Porchavina, TBID, Executive Secretary, requesting Council Commissioners authorization to give presentation of the Butte-Silver Bow Tourism Business Improvement District, TIBID, work plan and budget on August 23rd, 2023, and to schedule a public hearing on September 6, 2023. Mrs. Porchavina.
Am I not smart enough to press
You're
this?
good. You've got it. Oh, shut
Off?
off. There we go.
Oh,
You can't see the light when you're, okay, got my glasses on. Good evening, I'm back. I'm here tonight for our public meeting. I gave a presentation on our budget a couple of weeks ago, our work plan and budget. Normally when I do this, I seem to be pushing it all together, and normally I'm not used to coming up and visiting with you separately. We're proposing to keep the TBID assessment at $1 per occupied guest room, which would give us a budget in excess of $260,000 for the next fiscal year. Would you like me to go through the breakdown again, or how much detail?
It's up to you. I think it'd be good just to do a quick
Okay.
review of the
Okay.
breakdown, please.
I don't have the presentation again, but I brought my copy so I can go through it. Again, I'm just going to go ahead. For this evening, I'm just going to talk about the TBID. I'm not going to get into other funding that we do for tourism promotion. I'm going to reiterate that the purpose of these funds are to increase hotel occupancy and or increase the average daily rate. The primary time frame that the TBID looks at is events or functions for funding that happen between the months of September into May, okay? However, we do fund functions in the summer, i.e. the Montana Folk Festival. This year, funding went to the Serbian Fest as well as the Butte 100, just to name a few. It always comes back to heads and beds. So we take grant applications for events and for festivals. There are leisure campaigns where money is spent in conjunction with the Convention and Visitor Bureau bid tax that is also collected and is overseen by another board of directors under my purview. I work with two boards. Our annual fund there, I'll just mention, is $185,000. Again, it's for promotion. We can't do any bricks and mortar. As much as I don't mean to pick on the sheriff, but not going to be buying him any new police cruisers anytime soon. Let me see. We go ahead and our collection period is October 1 through September 30th. I do the assessment. I send it out to my hoteliers. It's paid with their property tax bills, or it's billed on their November property tax bill, and those funds generally, I ask for a letter sometime in January or February. The way how that we break it down is administration is $60,000. Special projects, we put aside money for that. And so a perfect example for a special project is when the URA, Karen Burns, came forward with a feasibility study needing to be done for a wayfinding project. Funds were set aside out of special projects. When we were looking at putting funds together as a match for the minimum revenue guarantee for a new flight coming into Butte, we had funds in this particular market segment where those funds were drawn down and put into a separate account. Festivals, we give $30,000. We put into a budget of $30,000 annually. Events and tournaments, $60,000. Groups and meetings, $24,000. Leisure, $36,000. And then we always like to keep a reserve of $25,000. We have a board of trustees, which are appointed by the chief executive and are approved by this body. Our chair is Steve Lubick. Unfortunately, Steve couldn't be here this evening. He's not feeling well. Cammie Johnson and Rex Lightpimer, Chucky Richards and Alex Sobrian are all out of town. Paula Rourke is here representing the Canale family, owners of the Comfort Inn. And J.J. Adams was unable to make it. I can go into more detail if you would like again on what each individual bucket represents or market segment. I will go ahead and I will reiterate from my presentation that as far as the tournament bucket, there are two organizations that have funded events here in Butte with regard to tournaments. Those would be the tournaments at the Maroon Activity Center primarily. Hypoxia is another one. Then the events that are held at the Butte Civic Center. Advantage Butte professionals, they're keyed into those type of events. There's an agreement in review to go ahead and transfer funds from the TBID to Advantage Butte, where we work together. What this will accomplish is that there won't be double dipping into funds, so that people won't be, or organizations won't be coming forth and asking for the same funding from two different groups, so we can keep it pretty clean. I think that's about it, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Porchavina. Any questions of commissioners?
Oh, come on.
Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Maria, I was just curious, you mentioned the money we put aside for the extra flight. Is that still aside, or have you
Yes,
used it?
that's been invested and is gaining interest, so that money has been invested until those funds are needed.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Ms. Portavia. Any other questions of commissioners? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. First call for proponents. Second call for proponents. Third and final call for proponents. Seeing none, next I'll move to opponents. First call for opponents. Second call for opponents. Third and final call for opponents. I'll close the public hearing. All right, moving on to section 2, consent agenda A 1 through 4 and B 1 through, gotta look now, 1 through 8 or 1 through 19. Do we have any friendly amendments and or segregations? None? Seeing none, Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to approve Section 2 of the consent agenda, A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 19, with with no exceptions.
We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yea, 0 nay, motion 0 nay, motion passes. Always timely on the muffler. Moving on to section 3, communications and or resolutions for second reading. We have 1, Council Bill number 2023-04 and ordinance number 2023-04. Clerk, could you please read the caption?
An ordinance amending Chapter 13.12 of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code B-SBMC entitled Solid Waste Management Facility, specifically amending Section 13.12.070 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-04 on second reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing Council Bill number 2023-04 and ordinance number 2023-04 on second reading on the question. Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9
0 nay.
9 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to section 4, ordinances and resolutions for final reading. We have resolution number 2023-30. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution authorizing the submittal of a community development block grant for the purpose of financial assistance for the Aspen Place Apartments improvement in accordance to the procedures of the Butte-Silver Municipal Code and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-30 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-30 on final reading. Is there any? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-31. Commissioner, or Clerk, could you please read the caption? Sorry.
A resolution fixing the rate of assessment to finance the cost of a single street maintenance district within the city and county of Butte-Silver, state of Montana for the fiscal year 2024 and providing for an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-31 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-31 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Please vote. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yeas, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to section 5, resolutions and/or ordinances for the and ordinances, suspension of the rules for final passage. Commissioner Frederickson, we have quite a few here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Bear with me here on this one. I move for the suspension of the rules for the purpose of passing resolution number 2023-40, resolution number 2023-41, resolution number 2023-42, resolution number 2023-44, resolution number 2023-45, resolution number 2023-46, resolution number 2023-47, resolution number 2023-48, and resolution number 2023-49 by waiving subsection 7 of Rule 36 of the Rules and Order of Business of the Council of Commissioners, thereby having it considered for advanced passage without reference to the Judiciary Committee.
Commissioner Frederickson, I think we skipped 2023-43.
Oh, yes. And resolution number 2023-43.
Thank you.
As amended.
We have a motion and a second on the motion as amended. Is there anything on the question? Commissioners, please vote. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yeas, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion 0 nay, motion passes. Moving back to resolution number 2023-40. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for various funds of the Butte Elementary School District Number 1 at the rate established by Butte School District 1, which will raise the amount set out by the final budget of the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levy for each fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-40 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second place on resolution number 2023-40 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Commissioners, please vote. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yeas, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-41. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for the various funds of Butte County High School District Number 1 at the rate established by the Butte School District Number 1, which will raise the amount set out by the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levy for each fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-41 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-41. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yeas, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-42. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for various funds of the Ramsey Elementary School District Number 3 at a rate which will raise the amount set out for the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised for the tax levy for each fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-42 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-42 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Commissioners, please vote. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-43. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for various funds of the Divide Elementary School District Number 4 at the rate for which the raise of the amount set out for the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levy for each fund of the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-43 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-43 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-44. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for various funds of the Melrose Elementary District Number 5 at a flat rate which will raise the amount set out by the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levy for the fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-44 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-44 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could Commissioner And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-46. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for various funds of the joint high school and joint elementary districts number 1 through 4 at the rate which will raise the amount set out by the final budget as the amount necessary will be raised by the tax levy for each fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-45 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number 2023-45 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? Commissioner Frederickson, I don't think you're... And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay. 9 yeas, 0 nay. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-46. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the mandatory tax levy of the various county-wide funds of the school districts within the city-county of Butte-Silver at a rate which will raise the amount set out in the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levy for each fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-46 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a resolution number 2023-46 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And Commissioner Sorge. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-47. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the mandatory tax levy for various countywide funds of the school district within the city county of Butte-Silver at the rate which will raise the amount set out for the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levy for each fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. So we're going to change this one up. I did not forget Director Gleason, but we have not received a letter from the state on this one, so we're going to have to hold it. So I move to hold this Resolution 2023-47 until we receive the letter from the state, and then we might have to have a special meeting next week once we receive that letter. But
We have a motion and a second to hold resolution number 2023-47. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-48. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution fixing the tax levy for the town of Walkerville, state of Montana, at a rate which will raise the amount set out by the final budget as the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levy for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place resolution number 2023-48 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution -48 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution number 2023-49. Clerk, please read the caption.
A resolution setting the 2024 fiscal year annual salaries for the chief executive, county attorney, sheriff, clerk and recorder, treasurer, assessor, city judge, justice of the peace, auditor, superintendent of schools, clerk of the district court, coroner, and members of the council of commissioners, providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Everyone's favorite resolution. I move to place resolution number 2023-49 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second placing resolution number -49 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
9 yea, 0 nay. 0 nay.
9 yeas, 0 nay, motion passes. Please note all of the calendar meetings and events. And then moving on to any public comment on any matter not on the agenda tonight. Oh, yeah, on any, sure. Yeah, Commissioner Reardon.
Right. Thanks for hanging around a little bit. I know everybody wants to go home and all that, but I think I have something here that deserves recognition from a local business here. I don't know, most of the people in Butte probably know John Weitzel, and he received a national award last week. He submitted his sign that was made and hung in Butte from Cilantro. There were thousands of entries. In fact, the first place was from St. Louis, Missouri, and the third place was from Indianapolis, Indiana. And it's a pretty big deal in the industry and all that, and John's been at it for quite a while, and he's pretty happy with it. He's a great asset to Butte, to the the Historical Preservation Committee with his expertise and all that. So I just thought it was something that we should recognize with the community that we have, and him being one of the main components in redeveloping the signage and helping with to restore Uptown Butte. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. Is there any public comment on any item not on the agenda tonight? If you'd like to come forward, state your name and address. Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay?
Very quickly, Commissioner Anderson reached out to me tonight and wanted me to inform the body and the public that his recent procedures and treatments have been very successful. He's feeling great, appreciates all the prayers and well wishes that came his way, and he's looking forward to being back in the saddle next week.
Fantastic news. Thank you for that update, Michelle, and Commissioner Shea. And so with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by aye.